Firstly, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. My name is George Fattal. I'm part of Elders Valley Home Mortgage Lending Services, and tonight's seminar or presentation / workshop is about first home buyers. So we've got four amazing speakers tonight. They're going to discuss their individual topics, starting off with Ben Holder, I should say, keep it formal, from Elders Real Estate Clarence Valley. He's going to be talking to you about property, what to look for, what not to look for, and discuss, you know, the pros and cons of various assets, properties, and etc. Then we've got Geraldine. She'll talk to you about the legal side of things. Why is it important to have a solicitor involved in your first purchase, making sure that the contracts that are drafted are in accordance to what you're requiring, etc, etc. Then we've got Shellie from NAB. She'll talk to us about the NAB offering in terms of first home buyers, and then I'll finish off the evening with where do I fit in terms of a broker, you know what I mean? So my role is to coordinate, facilitate your goals and objectives with the likes of Shellie and NAB and etc. Now, before I get into the formal presentation side of things, just a little bit of housekeeping. For anyone who does not know where the ladies and gents are, straight through there, we've got food, drinks and etc. being offered thereafter, hot tea and coffee, and an assortment of hot foods as well. There are brochures, pens, beer coasters and etc. I encourage please to grab some on the way out, but most importantly throughout the evening, questions that pop up through any of these presentations, write them down, okay? The more you ask, the more you'll understand, the more comfortable you will be when you leave this workshop tonight, okay? So there are no silly questions. All I encourage is to ask those questions, okay? So without any further ado, I'm going to ask Ben Holder to step up to the mic, and if he can please give us his presentation. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, mate. Save your applause, guys, it's okay. So I'm the only one that doesn't have a PowerPoint, it sounds like, so unfortunately you have to deal with me. You may have seen me on Facebook, Instagram. We've probably met at an open home, maybe not. So I'm Benny, obviously I work at Elders. My team's standing over there. So look, I get that you're probably all nervous about trying to buy a house. You're probably not as nervous as me standing in front of you trying to talk right now. So we'll get through this together, don't worry. I guess probably the first thing to note is that the perfect property doesn't exist. And what I mean by that is, I don't think I've ever met somebody when they bought a house and they said, oh, Benny, this is the house I wanted to buy since I was 12 years old. I don't think anybody's ever said that. I think the other thing to note is that everybody talks to me after they settle and go, geez, Benny, I wish I did this sooner. I think that's a key thing to remember is most people think that buying their first home is the destination. And that's not your destination. That is most likely just the stop along the way. So anybody who's ever driven to Brisbane always stops at Chindra. I look at the first home as like stopping at Chindra, getting KFC on my way to Brisbane. So take your time when looking at your home and homes that are out there, and don't think that the first home that you buy has to tick every box, because it won't. The actual average of people living in their homes around here is about 7 years. So things change. And most people with their first home use that first home as equity to then on purchase for their next home. You can imagine when life changes within 7 years, looking around, you're all probably going to get in relationships, maybe have kids. So the demands and the type of home you need as you continue to grow will change. So you move from a 3-bed, 1-bathroom home and you get married and have some kids, so you need a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom. Then you want a pool to entertain the kids because they're annoying, so you want some space, so you buy a pool, right? And then as the kids grow up and leave, you then don't need a big 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom home anymore. It's just you and the missus and whoever's on the phone. And then you downsize back into your 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. So life is cyclical, so don't get too much caught up on your home. I guess my job tonight is to more talk around the mindset around purchasing your home. These guys are going to talk through the logistics about how they make it happen. Yes, as a real estate agent, we're integral to make that process happen. But all of the advantages and things that are out there for you, these guys are going to talk to you about. My job is to help you get ready to do that. One thing I really do want to say is that the amount of times I hear I'm waiting to find when the market actually drops, or I'm trying to hit the market perfectly, just never happens. So if you look back in Grafton in particular, or the Clarence Valley, and you look at the house prices 3 to 4 years ago, you will find that the median sale price on a home back then was about 380 to 400. If you actually now have a look at the median sale price in this area, it's over 500, closer to 550. So I laugh because there's no way anybody in here, unless you're insane, can save over 150 grand within those couple of years. So that property is going to add value for you. You'll use words like equity, where you can go and dip into that and buy something else. So don't be afraid to take steps to throw yourself out there. It's never the richest person that gets the property. It's the person who's prepared to jump, to make some decisions and work through trying to secure their property. I really wish I could walk around, but that's not going to happen. So you're going to have heaps of questions tonight, I have no doubt. You may have already been talking to a broker. You may already be talking to a conveyancer. All of these words might not make any sense to what I'm saying. We may or may not have even met. You may be just starting to look at properties on realestate.com and Domain. You may be looking at properties going, geez, I can't ever afford that. There is no harm in asking questions and starting the process and the conversations early. Our job, believe it or not, even though we're the third least trusted human beings on the planet as real estate agents behind Telstra and used car salesmen, we actually do want to help. So yes, we talk a heap of shit, and I shouldn't say that because we're streaming, but yeah, that's what we do. But our job ultimately is to help you. And with the guidance and the support of the rest of the guys that you're going to hear tonight, our job is to help you buy your first home, or your second home, or your third home. Nothing makes us happier than to be able to be a part of that process, to move through tenancies into buying your first home, selling your first home, buying your second home. There's a few here that we've done some deals with before. Like it's so exciting to see the evolution of that. So don't worry about competing with other buyers. Just make sure you do whatever you can to get yourself prepared. And if you don't know what that looks like, don't hesitate to reach out and talk to us, because we do this for a living. I've done this for 12 years now. And as I said at the beginning, I've never met a person that said, this is my perfect home I've been dreaming of since I was 12. So relax, the pressure's off, you will be okay, and we'll look after you. That's it for me. I don't need any more. No one has any questions, do they?
Yes. Hit him up with some questions, please. Good on you, mate.
Yeah, so...
There's 13 shades of white.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, if you get to know me, I'm fairly systematic and repetitive, and so there's a way I like to do things. One of those is not having to make a choice on what I wear all the time. So I just buy 5 of the same thing, and then I can wear that for the rest of the week. So that's the only reason. And it's amazing how many people look in the mirror, our window at work, and then I'll walk past and they'll get the finger point. They're like, oh, that's the agent. I was out at breakfast the other morning, just sitting there, minding my own business, having a coffee, actually trying to work. A lady just yelled out. She's like, oh, what do you do for work? And I said, well, have a guess. And she said, you're a real estate agent. I said, yeah, is it that obvious? Like, I mean, I don't know why we do it. Some people like it when we dress down, some people like it when we dress up. I mean, you can't please everybody, but the reason I buy 5 of the same shirts is because this happened today. So,
At least he's real.
Yeah, putting up salt on. No, like, that's why I wear white. There's no...
Thanks, Ben.
Jesus anointed me to do this.
Now, I'm going to just divert a little bit from the next speaker, because we've got some hot food over there, and I would assume there'd be a few of us in here yours truly, would like to actually sample some of that food. So if you don't mind, let's take a 3-minute break, grab a plate of food, bring it back to your seat, and then we can move on. Is everyone in agreement with that, or do you want to push on? No? Good. 3-minute break, please. Grab a plate of food. Yeah, there is a mouse. There's water. Oh, yep.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get.
Do you want me to work it? I can do it. Because I was going to say you can.
Feels so good.
Oh, there we go. Oh, that's right. I just did something wrong there. Yeah. Okay, so you just press that one and it goes to the next one. You just press that one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did that work? Oh, yeah.
Press it. Right. Let's do it.
people.
We know them. Oh my gosh, I'm having trouble with what their names are now. Yeah.
I've got them on my phone.
I should know it. Terry. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got to, if you ever want to stay in Grafton, it's a bit of a draw. It's out of town. It's on the Clarence, is it the Clarence River?
Yeah.
No, it's the best B&B you'll stay in. You know, gorgeous people. And it's Terry and...
Yeah, I should know that too, but
She's gorgeous. That's where I normally stay, but tonight the other place is featuring on the...
near the KFC. Yeah. A bit loud
That's
there.
no. Well, I always stay in the room. Are we ready to resume? Mr. IT guy, thumbs up. We're good to go. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you for that. I'm glad that we had that little break there. So, ladies and gents, let's continue with the evening. So the next speaker is Geraldine Gallagher from Gallagher Solicitors. Like I mentioned to you in the opening statement, is why is it important to have legal advice, especially buying the biggest asset that you'll end up purchasing in your life. It's highly recommended you partner up or get proper legal advice. Okay, so without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Geraldine, and she can expand on why it's important. Thank you, Geraldine.
Good evening, my name's Geraldine Gallagher and I'm the Principal Solicitor and Director at Gallagher Solicitors and Conveyancers. I've got with me here tonight my colleague Katrina Kelly. She works in our conveyancing team, along with our licensed conveyancer Nadee Skills, who can't be here tonight. So a little bit about our firm. So the predecessor to the firm was actually my father, AJ Gallagher, and he was practicing in the Clarence Valley since 1976. He took over the firm from DJ Lobb, Craig and Radcliffe was the predecessor. He took that over in the late 70s. I joined him working in about 2016 and took over as the owner in 2019. Nadee's been with our firm since 2018, and Katrina actually used to work for Tony back in the day for about 10 years. She went off to run her own business and then came back to us in 2022. So the three of us who work in the conveyancing team are all Clarence Valley locals and have a lot of local knowledge in relation to the different properties. We've worked on a number of the properties and different subdivisions, and along with Tony's historical knowledge, can provide lots of information about different properties around the valley. Just in relation to our firm, the main areas that we practice in are conveyancing, property law, and wills and estates and estate planning. So basically tonight I'm just going through for the first home buyers just the life cycle of a conveyance and what is conveyancing. So conveyancing is essentially the legal and administrative process of transferring the ownership of a property from the seller to the buyer. So you can do this with either a conveyancer or a solicitor. So the difference between a conveyancer and a solicitor is that a conveyancer is qualified to do all of the things necessary to facilitate the transfer of the property, including doing the contract review for you and attending to the settlement and the transfer. A solicitor can also do that, all of those things as well. And in addition, if there's any problems that arise that end up in litigation or other problems, pre-litigation things, they can also help with that. So it's good to go with a firm that has both of those, just in case something goes awry. I will stress though, with first home buyers, they're usually very straightforward transactions and we don't usually have any problems with those at all. So, in New South Wales, there's, I guess, essentially 4 steps to conveyancing. So you can see them listed up there. So there's the pre-purchase stage, exchange of contracts, the pre-settlement stage, and the settlement day. So I'll go through each of those steps. So just in relation to the pre-purchase stage, there's usually 2 sort of ways that you can approach this. So one is you're buying a property by private treaty, where you're going to make an offer through a real estate agent, or the other way is if you're going to auction. So the steps are slightly a bit different. So in relation to private treaty, the steps that we usually go through are arranging finance pre-approval through your broker, so you know how much you can spend and what price range you're looking at with the property that you want to buy. Then once you've found the property that you want in your price range, you can make an offer through the agent and usually let them know your terms and conditions, and they'll put that forward to the vendor. So usually the standard conditions that first home buyers will need when they're making an offer are that they require formal finance approval and a pest and building inspection. If your offer is accepted, the agent will issue a sales advice to the vendor's solicitor and the purchase solicitor or conveyancer. And then once we receive that sales advice, that's our cue to get in touch with you and sort out what the next steps are. So what we do is discuss your finance arrangements, discuss your pest and building and who you're getting that through, or if you're using the agent's one, and all of those things. Also what conditions that you need, settlement period, things like that. And then once we've received the contract from the vendor's solicitor, that can sometimes come through within a day or sometimes take a little while to come through. We'll arrange an appointment for you to either come into our office, or if you can't come into the office, we can do a Teams or video conference with you to review the contract. So during the appointment, we review the contract and discuss all of the terms of that and discuss any issues you might have and any questions. There are sometimes things that we need to ask of the vendor solicitor about the property. Sometimes, it's not clear about the inclusions, or sometimes they may not all be listed on the front page. So inclusions are things like ceiling fans, curtains, blinds. There might be other special things that you've discussed that might be included in the sale that haven't been listed on the contract. So we go through and ask the vendor to amend or ask for other conditions that you might need. Once we send those off and get a reply, we can then move to the exchange stage. We also do what's called a verification of identity when you're in our office, or through another electronic process where we send you a link to do your verification. And that's a requirement of all conveyancing transactions, that we properly verify your identity by getting your ID documents. So usually that's your passport and driver's license, or birth certificate, driver's license and Medicare card. And also if your name isn't the same on your birth certificate as your driver's license, we usually need, for example, a marriage certificate to confirm what your current name is. So in relation to an auction, it's slightly different in that you need to have everything sort of looked at and all your pre-purchase inquiries done before the auction, because when you go to auction, if you're the successful bidder, you're locked into the contract and it's legally binding on that night. So we normally suggest that you get a pre-auction review so that we can go through and make sure there are things that you may not understand or not be aware of about the property that we can alert you to, and get some questions answered from the vendor's solicitor in time for the auction. We also recommend you get a pest and building, or at least check out the one the agent's done, and see if there's any issues there. And then also we recommend that you check with your broker or banker about the particular property you're bidding on, just to make sure that they are going to be able to provide finance for that particular property up to the amount that you can bid to. It's very rare, but sometimes banks won't provide full finance for a particular property if you buy it at auction. Their valuation may come back different, although that's very rare that happens. You also need to make sure that you have your deposit ready to pay on the night of the auction. So that's the pre-purchase stage. So moving on to the exchange of contracts. So with a private treaty, once you're ready to go, the way that an exchange works is you'll pay the deposit to the real estate agent's trust account, or if there's no real estate agent involved, you pay it to the solicitor's trust account that's acting for the vendor. And then once you've paid the deposit, you can authorise your solicitor or conveyancer to exchange contracts. So what that actually means is you will have signed the contract in our office or electronically via DocuSign. So we send that contract over to the vendor's solicitor. They check it's identical with the one that the vendor holds and has signed. And if it is, they date it, and that's exchange of contracts. And we send the vendor solicitor will send the one signed by the vendor back to us, and that's exchange. So then you're locked in. So that's the legally binding contract. So one thing we also just recommend when when you're paying the deposit to any bank account, if you've received bank details via email, we'd always recommend that you ring on a trusted number, just because there's lots of cases of cyber fraud going around. So just make sure any bank details you receive by email, you ring the real estate agent or the solicitor on a trusted number, so you know and can confirm those bank details. So so that's exchange of contracts. So after contracts are exchanged, we go into the pre-settlement stage. So that's all the work we do as your solicitor or conveyancer behind the scenes. So the first thing though that you need to do is sign and return your loan documents to the bank so that that's all ready to go. If there's any delay in getting the documents back to the bank, that could delay settlement. So it's important that you get onto those as soon as we exchange contracts. So then behind the scenes, we prepare the transfer document, which will transfer the property to your name on settlement. We arrange for any stamp duty. So that involves us acting as agents for Revenue New South Wales and stamping the contract, or stamping the contract for any exemption you may receive as a first home buyer, any exemption or concession. We also order certificates from the council to confirm the financial adjustments we need to do. So the standard adjustments that we have to do on a residential property are for rates and water. And then if you're buying other types of property, there might be strata rates and also local land services if it's a rural property. So we prepare the settlement figures and send them over to the vendor's solicitor for agreement. And then once that's all agreed, we let you know what the breakdown is and let you know what you need to do, if anything, for settlement. So on the settlement day, so this is where you arrange the pre-settlement inspection with the agent. So you're entitled to do a settlement inspection of the property. Usually we recommend you do that on the morning of the settlement in case there's something happened. Like, for example, I've had cases where a storm has come through and damaged a roof, so that's resulted in us having to sort out insurance claims and everything before we can settle the matter for the purchaser, because that's obviously not the condition that you purchased the property in. Or there's other things, if there's any major damage to a property, we need to know about it so we can sort out a resolution so settlement can proceed. So once you do the pre-settlement inspection with the agent, you just give us a ring, let us know that we're authorised to settle, or if there's any issues, you let us know what they are and we can help sort them out. Also the other thing that you need to make sure, and this is usually a condition of your loan, is that you have the appropriate insurance in place from the day of settlement. So that's essentially the life cycle of a conveyance. And so, the main thing to be aware of in New South Wales is that it's sort of buyer beware. So you need to make sure that you do your pre-purchase inquiries, which is what we're here to help you and guide you through. So that's the life cycle of a conveyance for a first home buyer. And we're always really happy to help first home buyers because it's always a very exciting time for them. And their excitement always transfers to us in the office because we love giving them the call on the day and say, you're a first homeowner, congratulations. So hopefully we might be able to help some of you in the future. So any of you have any questions? Yep. Yep, so most,
What sort of price does conveyancing cost?
Yep. So most solicitors and conveyancers charge a fixed fee for the professional costs plus disbursements. So the fixed fee for most conveyancers and solicitors around town is about $1,600 plus GST. The disbursements for a residential conveyance are usually the certificates we have to order from council and the stamping fee that we're charged for the Revenue New South Wales stamp duty. So that usually comes in at around maybe $200 to $300. So you're looking at around $2,200, $2,300 for a conveyance. And that fee is paid on settlement, and when you're going through your loan documents, that's the banker or broker will always incorporate those fees into the loan. They'll take those into account when they're doing your finance. Yeah. Any other questions? No? All right, well, thanks for coming tonight. Thank you.
While Shelley's getting her presentation loaded up. Excellent, thank you, Shelley. Okay, ladies and gents, now we've got the lender of, which is NAB, of course. Shellie Kent, she looks after NAB Coffs Harbour and the Clarence Valley. NAB is one of the top 4 banks in Australia. Everyone knows the brand and the bank. Most times very easy to deal with, but more importantly, local presence. Now, I can't emphasise that enough, how important that is. So if there is a time throughout that loan that needs an altercation, an adjustment of some sort, having local presence in Grafton, Coffs, Clarence areas is very, very important for the consumer, okay? So if I sound a little bit biased, forgive me, but it's very important for a first home buyer in particular, okay? So without any further ado, I'd love to introduce Shelley, and she can explain the NAB offering. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Shelley. So I am from the NAB. I am at Coffs, I'm at Grafton, Yamba, Maxville, so I travel kind of all up the coast at the moment. As we've said, so NAB is one of the participating lenders in the First Home Buyers Deposit Scheme, which is what I'm primarily going to speak to you guys about today. If my PowerPoint will work, fingers crossed. Maybe not. No. See, I am technologically challenged.
Don't worry.
Hang on.
Maybe do it on the table, Shelley.
Maybe. No.
Okay, I'll just stand out the front.
Oh. Oh, look at that. Okie dokie. So to start with, thought I would give a brief overview of the finance journey. So essentially there is 6 stages when you're going to be purchasing a house. The first one is the borrowing capacity stage. So that's where you come to the bank and we actually work out how much you can borrow. So that's going to give you a really good idea with what you're looking at in terms of a price cap for your property. We go through your deposit, have a look at all that. So we look at income, expenses, liabilities, just to work out how much you can actually lend as a loan. From there, we do a pre-approval. So this is where we do all our initial checks and get an application in the system for you. It gives you a bit more confidence when you're actually going to look at houses. You can make offers. Real estate agents always love when you have your pre-approval. It's one of the first things they'll ask. After you have your offer accepted and you've spoken to your conveyancer, then we get the formal approval in. So this is where the bank then grants you unconditional approval. We give you mortgage documents, you can sign them, get them ready. By then we know exactly how much your loan needs to be. We can work out repayments and kind of get that process all sorted for you. This is where your 5% deposit scheme through the government fits in. So we work that towards the second and third stage, and the lenders do that for you. From there, you sign your documents, book in a settlement date, settlement happens, loan gets to draw down, and you start repayments from there. Oh, mouse isn't going to work. I don't think I'm going to do much off memory. You're okay. Well, off memory, so 5% deposit scheme, that's through the government. So it essentially enables people to be able to jump into the market earlier. So it means that instead of having your normal 20% deposit, so you don't have lender's mortgage insurance, you can have a 5% deposit and the government guarantee the difference for you. So it avoids the extra cost of LMI, which is your mortgage insurance, lets you jump in the that's okay, lets you jump into the market a bit earlier. I'll say they've changed it all as of October last year, so there's no longer any income limits, and it just makes it a bit easier. I'll see if I can actually get the PowerPoint off of my phone so that I can not just ramble on for you. Here we go. That's all right. I'll do it off my phone and see if it can work. Okie dokie. So, one of the first things we do at the bank is we work out your eligibility for the scheme. So, pretty much to be eligible now. Oh, look at that. Will it then let me go to the next slide? Maybe, maybe not. So this is the 5% scheme, gives you a very brief overview about what it is. So like I said, lets you jump in with only having your 5% deposit rather than your normal 20. You get to avoid lender's mortgage insurance, which can be really expensive. It also pushes your interest rate up higher. So the government don't own any part of the property. They are just a guarantor for you. So it's government backed, so the lender essentially has the stability that the government has said you're okay, you're guarantoring that loan, like you used to do with parents. So the scheme has opened up now. There's unlimited spots. There's no wait lists. That was something that was a couple of years ago that was a lot of pressure on getting in. So because they put in there, we've essentially no one misses out. I don't know if we can go to the next slide or not. No, that's okay. Thank you. So in terms of eligibility, pretty much, so you have to be an Australian. Oh, look at you go. Thank you. So Australian citizen or permanent resident, have to be over 18 years old. The property has to be purchased within a price cap for the area. So I've got that in a later slide. Has to be an owner-occupied property. So you can't be purchasing this as an investment. You have to either be a first home buyer or have not owned land or an existing house in over 10 years. So if you have owned one before, that's okay if you've sold over 10 years ago. And you have to have a minimum of 5% savings, and they have to be genuine, which we'll go through afterwards as well. Which button do you press? So these are the price caps for the area. So New South Wales, 800,000 is the price cap in this, pretty much most of New South Wales. So other areas, are, like we've got the most out of all the states. Yeah, capital cities and regional centres, so that's like Sydney, Parramatta, that sort of area, which we don't have. So all along here will be 800,000. And you can purchase up to that point. Once you go over that, you're no longer eligible for the scheme. So we want to make sure we stay purchasing below 800. Thank you. So to give some examples, here is a 500,000, 750 and 800,000 loan. So what it is you only have to have your 5% deposit through the scheme, where normally you would have your 5% and lender's mortgage insurance, which is the expense you have. So for a 500,000 property, you only need 25,000 as your deposit. In terms of other contribution cash, it is literally just your legal fees as well. So I'll say you could get out easily under 30,000 for a 500,000 purchase, where normally you would have your 14,000 lender's mortgage insurance on top, and you would have your higher interest rate. So that's kind of a brief idea of different prices, different caps. 800,000 is the top, so your 40,000 is the maximum deposit you're going to need, and then you would just have your legal fees on top. So 43,000, you'd be able to purchase the maximum price cap. So well and truly below your normal 20% deposit. Savings are going to be a lot more achievable doing it that way. Perfect. So lender's mortgage insurance, so this is what you get to avoid. So what it is it is an insurance that the lender takes out to for ourselves to ensure the risk of not recovering the debt. So if you are borrowing for more than your normal 20%, so an 80% loan, then you would normally have lender's mortgage insurance, so that if you don't sell for enough to clear your debt, the bank get our money back through the insurance claim. So it's a cost that the borrowers pay to the lender to ensure the difference. This is something that makes it really expensive. It's a high risk, that's why the interest rate's higher, which is why you get to avoid it going through the government scheme. So they guarantor you, so you don't have to have this expense. So genuine savings, this is probably the most important thing for first home buyers when you're looking, because it's something that needs to be done right at the beginning. So genuine savings is applicable for anyone that has under a 20% deposit. So whether this is for any purchase, whether it's over 800,000 or not, anyone that has less than 20% needs to show genuine savings. So this is money that has been accumulated or held in an account for 3 months, 90 days. So it needs to be there for the full 90 days to class as genuine savings. So some examples of that is money that's held in your account. It's deposits that were paid over 3 months ago. It can be sale of assets, so a lot of people use cars and everything. We just need to prove that you owned that asset. We get declarations to prove that. And your rental repayment history can also be used. So we look at the full 90 days, make sure there's no late payments. We can use that too. What we can't use is like gifts and inheritance, so loan funded deposits, gambling proceeds. So if you win on the pokies, you can't put that all towards your deposit, I'm sorry. Or cryptocurrency. So what you need to do is for the unacceptable things, so such as gifts and inheritance, you need to have that then sit in your account for the 90 days to be able to use. So if any parents are going to be gifting money, that is okay, but it has to be done 3 months prior to the purchase. So that's why it's something that we look at focusing on straight away, knowing that it's at least 90 days away then. Cool. So then how to apply. So this actually gets done through your lender, so either through myself or a broker. So we do everything for you. We get the application form, provide that to you guys, can help you fill out if need be. Fill that throughout. We get Medicare, so we can provide that. Proof of citizenship or residency, so that's normally like your birth certificate or your passport, very similar to your conveyancer. And then we have the declaration form as well. That's what we submit when we are doing your application for your unconditional finance to the government scheme, and they put in the spot and everything for you. So it's not something you guys have to do. We actually do it all. We just help you fill out the documentation. Perfect. Has anyone got any questions for myself? Sorry for the technologically challenged issues. No?
That was nice and easy.
Nice and easy.
There's a question
yeah.
at the back. Yep.
Thanks for the presentation. Do you know how that adds up with the super grant that first home buyers can access? Do you know anything about that?
The super grant, is it?
Yeah.
I haven't done anything with the super grant myself. Are you talking?
Yeah. I was told.
I believe that's still available.
Yeah, yep.
I believe.
Okay.
So there was a...
To be honest with you.
So there was a first home owners grant, which is actually a cash grant for new builds. So is that what you're thinking possibly? Or is this withdrawing from your super to go towards purchasing?
I'm talking about withdrawing from our super.
Yep.
From just a recent consult with a tax attorney. I was told it was about 50 grand. I'm not sure.
Yep.
But it's only.
Yeah, that's okay. So some super funds actually had first home buyers, like super schemes essentially, where you get to put money into your super knowing that you get to bring it out earlier for the purpose of the first home buyer, like for purchasing. So that's okay. It would have been something that's arranged essentially through your super separately. We use that. That is still classed in the genuine savings portion. Your super fund, though, are the people that actually assist with bringing that out. We just look at that as your contribution. Yeah, that's okay. Yep. Yeah, exactly. So if it's under that, if your super has it for the purchase, that's fine. Cool. Oh, I'm actually not entirely sure on that one. I think it depends on the super fund because not all super funds do the scheme for it. I'll say you'd have to check with your provider. I'm pretty sure it's different for everyone. Yeah.
The 5% scheme, does that also apply to purchasing land and doing a new build?
Yeah, so there is, you can do that. So it's existing houses, it's units, townhouses, it is land and build as well. There is time restraints with it though, so you can't purchase land and sit on it for ages and then build. For NAB particularly, you actually have to have your land and your build contract at the same time. So we can have separate. Yeah. So separate contracts, but they need to be going through together because the scheme spot gets linked for that land and the build. So it's better to have them together? Yeah, need them to have them together. So if you have your offer accepted on your land, you organise a builder, can be any builder you want, get the build contract, we get the land and build contract together through the individual parties, and that's what we lodge to the scheme. Not myself. I'll say, reliable builders. Where would you go through? I'll say real estates are going to be the easiest.
That's me. Yeah, I can help.
Perfect. Yes?
With the 5% deposit, and say your family has some acreage and you subdivide that acreage, can you still qualify for a build on that particular piece of property?
As in, if they are buying that subdivision, like that lot? So they'll
buy the subdivision, the lot,
yep,
and then build a house?
Yeah, so if they are going to be buying it, I'll say it is going to be a separate title, it's subdivided, it's just like a normal purchase then, that's fine.
And then that would mean the contracts, you would need the land contract and the home contract at the same time?
Yep, so I'll say normally you'd buy your land, be through an agent, you'd get that contract, so you wouldn't be an agent associated with the land, you would have your conveyancer as an equivalent, and then you get the build contract at the same time, that's fine.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
As long as there's a building entitlement.
Yep.
Based on getting like your non-genuine savings.
Yep.
With the receiving money as a gift, is that regardless of how much it is? So say you have the majority of your deposit and it's only a small amount, does it still have to sit in your bank account for 90 days?
So the minimum of the 5% has to.
Yep.
So if you are going to be contributing more than 5%, your minimum of the 5 has to be genuine. But if mum and dad or family or friend are gifting extra, that's okay.
Right.
Yeah. So we need to show 5's minimum.
Within AB, because there are some lenders that will not allow you to go above and beyond. Say, let's just say it's a $50,000 deposit requirement. Let's say you get $100,000 as a gift, you put it in the account for 3 months. There are some lenders that will not accept that because that's beyond first home owners grant.
So as soon as you are eligible to be a 20% deposit, then the government makes you ineligible.
Yes.
I'll say if you have between 5 and 20, so say you had 15%, then you're okay. If you're retaining any of those funds, we need to justify why. So because the government wants to know why you're putting in less than you have for the purchase. Yep. Yeah, but as soon as you go over... Yeah, I'll say as soon as you go over 20% though, I'll say, and you have over 20% of your funds that we can see, you are then not eligible because you have more. Yeah.
Thank you.
Easy.
Can you be an angel and set mine up,
Yes,
please?
hopefully yours will work.
Thank you very much. Shellie's done a marvellous job. She's actually taken a lot of the content out of my presentation and presented it already, so mine will be very quick, let me assure you. If I know how to work this, I'll be happy. Now, there is a reason why I've given you one of these each, so I'll get to that in a minute. No, that's not that one. It's D drive on that USB, I think. If you can't get it up, I've got it pretty well memorised, so. Yep, that's it. And do I, oh, okay. Okay, cool. Cool. Thank you very much. I'm the last speaker for the night, so I will not stand between you and leaving too long. So thank you very much, firstly, for attending. I'm going to finish off on me and what I mean by me as a broker. What is the differentiator between myself and the likes of Shellie over there, okay? So for the locals here, you'd probably all know Trevor Hageman. Yes, getting some nods. So I purchased his business 2 years ago, and and the face of Elders Finance, Clarence Valley, and that's my name, George Fattal. So there's my mobile details and email address. Oh, God. Okay, I'm not going to go through this because Shellie did a marvellous job, like I said before, in terms of what the first home buyers grant means. Just to expand on the first homeowners grant also too, so Shellie did a really marvellous explanation of the scheme itself, but there's also two stamp duty concessions, ladies and gents. So when you're buying that property within that range, allowable range, 9 out of 10 times, and you may, I'm getting from legal advice here, you may be entitled to a full concession to the stamp duty. So that means there's no stamp duty applicable to that purchase as well, okay? But again, speak to your solicitor. She or they will confirm exactly what you are and what you're not entitled to from that perspective, okay? So does that make sense? Yep, beautiful. Okay. This is almost a replica of what Shellie presented before, so I'm not going to go into this too much for you. I do want to expand over here, but this one here, this one starting to rear its, I'm starting to see a little bit more of those. So for the single parents out there that do want to get into the property market, the government hasn't forgotten about you as well, okay? So that scheme, that 5% scheme is not applicable for them, it's down to 2%, okay? And I've done a few of those recently in Sydney CBD, okay? So for those single parents out there, for those single parents out there, please make sure that you are comfortable and understand that there is a scheme for you. Okay, so the difference between me as a broker, sorry I keep, so the difference between me and a bank, okay, yep, thank you, is that I work for you as the client, okay? Now, no disrespect to Shellie, she's done a marvellous job, and I do a lot with NAB as well, so, but me as a broker, I work for you as the client. There are 26 other lenders that are participating in that scheme. So my role is to find the best fit for you, okay? And what that means is, once I've identified your goals and objectives, your incomes, your expenses, etc., then my role is to go research all of those various lenders. Again, making it a very clear point, depending on where you are, there are differences between what we call Tier 1 lenders and Tier 2 and Tier 3 lenders. There are lenders on that panel, I can put my hand on my heart that no one in this room will probably even heard of them, okay? But it's important to be comfortable with a lender that you know, a trusted brand, and that you can facilitate any transactions locally, okay? So, and that's why I was saying to you before the importance of having someone like NAB and Shellie to represent your needs. Shellie's already mentioned all of those before. I'm not going to go into that, but the bottom, the second last one there, that bullet point there, 3 months of genuine savings. So please, if you are going to get an inheritance or a deposit or whatever it may be, there are some lenders that will accept a stat dec, okay? So you may not need to wait that long. Okay, but again, that's my role to identify which of those lenders are accepting of those deposits. Okay. Questions for me throughout? Yes.
I'll try and be loud so the microphone catches it.
Yep.
The no property ownership in Australia within the last 10 years, has that changed recently?
No.
Or
That's been since the inception of the scheme, unless I've otherwise. Yep. Yeah, that's all right. Okay. The price caps, as of the, and I think Shellie mentioned that before, so Grafton and the Clarence Valley, or South Grafton, etc., there's the price caps. So basically, if you stick within or below that, you'll be okay. Now, that doesn't mean you can't go beyond that, but there will be factors or fees or charges that will be applicable, or you may not be entitled to, is what I'm trying to get at, okay? So be really mindful of that. Shellie also did another marvellous job. It's almost a like-for-like presentation. So what my role and what Shellie's role is to sit down with you guys as individuals or a couple and find out what your goals and objectives are. That's the first and most important factor. And then look to do the pre-approval. Find out, do my research, and then come back to you with some suggestions, okay? Now, this is where I come to this. So if you can open that up, on the bottom of this brochure is a table. This is an indicative indicative table highlighting what your repayments will be on different percentages and different amounts, okay? So when you're going home tonight, or you know, and you want to have a look at, oh, what is that? I forgot to ask that question. This question pops up all the time. That's why I've made a beeline for this, is to refer to that table down the bottom. But again, you've got my details. You've got Shellie's details. We're only a phone call away, okay? That's it. So thank you very much for your time. Please support local businesses like myself, Ben Holder, Geraldine, Shellie, and we're only a phone call away or an email away for anything that you, any questions that you may have from this presentation. Hopefully you found this insightful and it's addressed some of those questions. We look forward to assisting you in getting you into your first home, and please reach out. Any further questions whilst you've got any of us here, or all of us here I should say, and for me in particular? Any questions? Nope. Thank you very much. Have a lovely evening. Safe drive home. please grab some goodies on the way out. Hands, lollies, coolers, pads. Grab Shellie on the way out.